Welcome to Apex Racing TV and welcome to the VRS Sprint Series here at Watkins Glen International. My name is Tyler Maxson and joining me in the commentary booth tonight is Austin Knight. Austin, welcome back to the commentary booth for another week of VRS action. And we're here at one of the most legendary racetracks in the United States. We're at Watkins Glen.
Yes, we are here at the Glen in wonderful Watkins Glen, New York, and it's just great to be back here in the booth and back here at this track, and we're going to have a great race for y'all today.
Yes, it will be. We got 40 minutes of racing ahead of us today, and currently it is Javon Turman on the pole, so he will have a nice, clean starting spot going down into turn one, have no one ahead of him to contest him. So he's going to have a bunch of angry bulls, though, behind him. The VRS Sprint Championship, definitely not an easy championship or a race to win. It's one of the best races on iRacing, in my opinion, and we're at one of the best tracks for it. We are at Watkins Glen, one of the best GT3 tracks, in my opinion, that you can race at. It's just one of the most challenging tracks in America. It's got so much twists and turns, very fast corners and slow corners. It's pretty much got a little bit of everything. Does this track, so should have some awesome racing here tonight.
Yeah, we're definitely in for a very experienced field as the grid has popped up on your all screen, but especially after last weekend where the 6 hours of the Glen happened, these guys are already practiced and already ready up for a great competitive race today.
Yeah, we should have some awesome racing ahead of us, but here we go. Javon Turman's on the pole alongside Edward Bogert. David Plantanol in third, and Jenner Hendrickson in fourth. Pascal Hoffman in fifth. Adam Pelio in sixth. Alta Tassi in seventh. Lucas Navarrete in eighth. Norbert Learton in I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Sorry, everyone. Leitner. Okay. Eric Galvarez. Kyle Dunlop, Andrew Ruse, Denny Rempel, Clement Wengen, Renaud Verajay, Tony Jacobs, Nicholas Haynes, Marcel Joachim, Mac Miller, Adam Salamasi. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that first name. Bellart, George Lewis, Stefan Noblis, Michael Johnson, David Toth, and Lori Koeskine. So apologies again for the terrible pronunciation of the names here. Definitely not my strong suit of commentating is the name pronunciation. But
it's
I also
global
don't see these names week in and week out. But this is definitely get some good practice for the foreign name speaking in the VRS Sprint Championships, as we see a lot of Europeans racing this series.
Yes, it is a open series. This is the Open Championship, so this is not a league series. This is at the top split of the VRS GT Sprint Series, unlike most of the leagues where we constantly have the same people over and over again. They would constantly correct us on how we actually pronounce their names, but these guys, they don't even know that they're being broadcast. Some do, some don't. But we have IR ratings from 6,000 all the way down to 3,000 here, and it's a very highly competitive field today.
Yeah, definitely a very highly competitive field. So in the VRS Sprint Championship, we usually see one pit stop happening anywhere from 25 to 35 minutes into the race, and that's pretty much the maximum that we're going to see out of these drivers. Going is about 35 minutes into the race, but most of these drivers are going to only be battling on the racetrack, not too much opportunity to get a better strategy than your competitor, but we have seen it in the past. Only 40-minute races here tonight, and we're just about to get going.
Just about to get going, and if there's something you noticed during the qualifying, we already have somebody going into the pits who's starting from the pit lane. That is, I think that's Asai. He's starting in P7. I believe he's going to go into the paints, but and all the top 9, it's all Mercedes.
Pretty much everyone running the Mercedes. It's definitely a dominant car for this track. So I'm seeing a lot, and I'll try to quickly pull up the car logo. There we go. And as you can see, the field is pretty much all dominated by Mercedes, all the way through the field. We have a few Audis, but from what I've heard from the drivers, the Mercedes is the car to have around this track.
Well, the proof is in the pudding right now, and the top 9 is definitely showing that one up. So they're coming along the one side of boot. Everyone's coming up side by side. Here they come, the Porsche safety car making its way into the pit lane. Everyone's slowly coming around the penultimate corner. Truman is going to lead out Brogard. They're going to be side by side. And it's green flag here in Watkins Glen. I believe there's already been a crash.
And I believe we have a crash a little bit further back. We'll try to get a replay of that one here in just a second, but Turman leads them down into turn 1. They're going to keep it pretty clean. Everyone pretty much just cycling through there too wide. I'm not seeing any contact anywhere else through the field, but Turman's going to lead them now onto the back straightaway towards the inner loop. And as they work their way through, I think everyone's gotten through pretty much unscathed.
There was a little bit of a midfield battle. Somebody got shoved off down onto the inside and got pushed out wide into turn 1 as they're going 3 wide as they're heading into the boot. Right now, this car spun around already. Chaos in the boot.
So we see chaos now through the inner loop, and that is going to set a few cars back. You can see one driver off and slow, possibly some steering damage for him, and he's going to be dropped out of the server, I think. I think that's some connection issues for him. So we've already lost 1, maybe even 2 drivers.
That was Tasai, and he's out. Yeah, he's already left out. Side by side, they see a little bit of flashing lights, so a few drivers not happy with themselves. We're watching Navarrete battling out with Hendrickson right now. Cars for 7th place right now, but all of them making their way through the boot. A massive pack of cars right here. Side by side they go. Ruz and Galvarez just is leading him out right there. Out of turn 10 and coming into turn 11 to complete the first lap. A very clean first lap, no real major incidents. As I say that, a car stopped on the inside of the final turn. But I believe that just might be a bit of connection issues. And yeah, we already have somebody going into the pit. Nope. Johnson was going to go into the pits, but decided he didn't want to.
Okay, so we're seeing a little bit of connection issues from these drivers. Pretty much what I'm seeing a little bit down here, I'm seeing drivers just jump in and out on the timing screen and in and out of pictures. So I believe we have some connection issues from a few of these drivers, but yeah, the Watkins Glen area, though, especially with how close the racing is not going to be friendly to bad internet, especially if you're racing someone very, very close out there on the racetracks. Not what the drivers want, especially if they're drivers who started further deep in the field and have to be with the really heavily intensive battle area. You can see this. This is almost a 10-car battle here. Great job from these drivers.
Yeah, we're looking at battle for 16th. Keeping our camera on Lewis, and the car disappears out of nowhere. That's the connection issues that we were talking about. That was Tasai. He disappears out of nowhere, almost a bit sideways, scaring a few of the drivers. It's actually Tasai setting up the inside, coming up into the toe and out of the boot. Tasai and Lewis battling out, but Tasai with a 2-car overtake on the inside.
Yeah, great job from Tasai there. Sends it down the inside. You can see the battle now. Mac Miller to the inside there of Danny Rappel. Actually, that's Rappel to the inside. Miller on the outside, but Miller's now going to have the inside going down into turn 9, and he's just going to be able to slip ahead there. So Miller remains in 21st place, and now he's got the challenge of catching up to Tassi ahead of him, and there's a large group of these drivers. I think that expands all the way up to 15th place, yes. So that big long train of cars there goes from 15th all the way down to 25th. So it's almost an 11-car train there. Great stuff.
You think that's the same Mac Miller as a rapper?
I don't know. I don't think so.
You never know on iRacing.
I'm actually going to go ahead and quickly look that up because I'm actually interested.
we'll do that after the race if we're still wanting to look at that. But all these guys racing in close proximity. Leitner has actually pulled out a little bit of gap to Palo in 5th place as they're trying to battle it out for 2nd. Right now, Leitner trying to close in that gap to Hoffman as they're coming up into the toe right now. But Leitner, that pressure from Dunlop and Henriksen and everyone else has made his way, and that advantage has gone absolutely nowhere. So we're switching down to the battle for 13th. Jokovic and Hayes side by side into the tail. As there's a crash. That is Tasai in the wall.
So Tasai has a crash here. We'll quickly jump into a replay here. We'll just keep an eye on this battle. And then once this battle disintegrates here, which I don't think it's going to anytime soon, but whenever we get a good time here, we will go to a replay of that one. But right now, this is a nice 4-car battle here. The only McLaren in the field, driven by David Toth. He is trying to make his way up into 17th place. So he's already made up 8 spots from his starting position. Great job from him to move his way forward, and he is definitely one to keep an eye on for.
Yeah, McLaren is a odd choice on this track. You said it was only good at 2 tracks specifically, and this was definitely not one of them. But he's certainly making his point that whatever track he's going to drive the McLaren on, he's going to enjoy driving the McLaren on as they're heading into turn 1 right now. And the interesting fact about turn 1, you actually want to keep it on the inside because the outside is a bit outer banked right now. We got Navarrete and Dunlop battling out for P8. Dunlop going to the inside, coming up into the inner loop chicane. Dunlop sends it up in there in the braking zone and takes that with ease.
Yeah, Dunlop, nice drive from him up into P8, and he is going to get that position. Now he's got to try to catch the 3-car battle of Hendrickson, Plyo, and Leitner. So he's got that 3-car train to catch up ahead of him, though. But the second that those guys start battling, he'll be right there to capitalize.
Yeah, that group, they were battling with each other up. We got a battle for first right now. And this is the first group. It's actually just Truman and Bogart right now. They started side by side. It started side by side at the start of the race. They pretty much just ran away from the field right now. But these two guys have never really left each other's sides. The 2 Mercedes, number 4 and number 2 car, keeping it in contention with each other.
Yeah, so the number 4 car leads over the number 2 car. Terman doing a nice job now. He's got 0.6 of a second there on Bogart, so he's got a pretty nice gap, and those two have a 1.7 second gap to Plinio in 3rd. So they do have a little bit of breathing room if they do want to possibly have a bit of a battle there. But this is a good battle here on the racetrack. We still got the 3-car battle of Leitner, Plyo, and Hendrickson. So those 3 still battling it out here as they work their way through lap 5. And keep in mind, we're only 7 minutes in to this 40-minute race, so we still got a lot of racing left to go.
Yeah, it's a longer sprint series than some are used to, but it is a definite sprint series compared to the endurance series, which is going on around Watkins Glen as well.
Yeah, definitely the shorter of the series, and it's actually one of the shorter sprint series on iRacing, especially in the GT cars. The only other real sprint series is the Le Mans series, which is 1 hour in length. This is the only one using all single-class races. This is the only true semi-sprint series, you could call it, that is a single class of racing. The other sprint series are multi-class, which is for example, the Le Mans series.
Oh! That is Nobes going wide. A Rippo gets the easy overtake on the inside, outside of the outer loop. Looks like Nobes got very loose outside of the chicane and just had to let him by. Either that was a slowdown penalty for cutting the track or something, but he just dropped all the pace off as Mac Miller swings it around the outside into the toe. And now coming out of the boot, Mac Miller and Lewis race. No, Mac Miller has Slamsy around the back of him. Slamsy unable to get past Mac Miller right there. And yeah, Mac Miller. Oh no, that is Miller and Lewis battling. I'm sorry.
Yes, that was George.
I'm getting
Lewis,
confused.
Yeah, definitely easy to get confused. It's very, very difficult some of the time to differentiate the numbers of the cars, or even the, especially if they're in a battle like this. If you don't completely have reliant on your timing screen some of the time. You honestly cannot even tell the difference between the cars. But still, we go back to this battle for 5th. Leitner over Pleo. So those two have kind of checked out here from Hendrickson. Hendrickson is still there in the background to capitalize on any battling that they do. And they will go side by side down into the inner loop. And it will be Leitner who will stay ahead. But they will only stay ahead for now. He's got Hendrickson now coming up behind.
He held the inside braking point and had the advantage going into the chicane. Gave a lot of room to Pilo, but Pilo backed off smartly. But that's allowed Hendrickson to close up on the back of him. He's going to look, sell him a dummy into the toe move. Leitner giving a little bit of room, not hugging that apex, comes back down to the apex right now. The purple wheel cars on that Mercedes, making it look very nice. As here comes Pilo. Is he going to try something at the exit of the boot? No, he's not.
So Pilo, it appears to be perfectly content with running in 6th place, possibly saving a bit of fuel. Being able to run in a little bit higher fuel map, burn a little bit less fuel, and maybe get the better strategy.
Here goes Pilo. Oh, yeah, he's selling another dummy. Trying to catch him off guard. He certainly caught me off guard right there.
Yeah, definitely. You could see the tactics there from Pilo. Possibly trying to force him into a mistake and possibly break himself going into one of these corners. Definitely easy to do if you're one of the better competitors, that you can just trick your competition into making a small mistake like that, but small mistakes are what cost positions.
Or as Bob Ross says, happy little accidents, but for the overtaking car mainly.
And as we jump back here to this battle, Robert Birwicci and Tony Jacobs. So that is going to be the battle for 11th place. Jacobs in the Audi. The Mercedes is, from what I hear, is much better than the Audi around the circuit. We don't see too many of them running here. But the Mercedes looks to just have the legs up, but the Audi has the inside, and that is just going to give him the position. So Jacobs able to hold on to 11th position. That now puts Verwicci under attack from Galvarez. So Galvarez now really going to be on the charge here to see if he can get by that Mercedes.
Yeah, Eric Galvarez charging in on Ronald Rigi. And looks like that Audi is struggling for a little bit of grip around here. Maybe trying a little bit of a different strategy than all these guys. But all three of them having nearly the same identical paint scheme as that massive group continues on this fight. We're going to switch it back up to the battle for 5th between Leitner, Pilo, Henderson, and Dunlop.
And there we go. We have to jump back to this battle for 11th. Jacobs now having to defend from Verwicci. Verwicci's now going to have the inside, and that's going to, I think, just get him enough. And now the two Audis are going to go out of Galvarez. Now down the inside of Jacobs. Let's see if he can get this move done going through turn 10. I think that now it's going to give Jacobs down the inside for 11, and that is just going to allow him to get ahead. But now Galvarez is going to have to try to defend here from Ruse. Ruse is able to jump into 13th place. And now Jacobs has to deal with Andrew Ruse on the charge right now.
Yeah, Andrew's been, we've seen him before. He's been very aggressive on the attacks whenever he's overtaken. But as we switch back to the battle for 19, Slazzy and Toth battling it out almost side by side at the inside of turn 1. Toth getting overtaken on the inside, but Toth not wanting to be outdone right there. Switching over, trying to find any advantage on Slazzy right there as we have our first pit stop right now. A little bit way too early for an actual pit stop, but there's side by side. Toth coming into the inner loop. Will they stay side by side through there? Toth actually hopped a little bit of a curb and got the advantage. And now Slazzy and Tassie going side by side of each other. And Tassie up the inside of Slazzy right there.
So yeah, there we go. And that is going to allow Tassie up the inside and into 20th place. And we're just going to jump back to this battle here for 5th. Leitner, Wow, Hendrickson, and Dunlop. This is now a 4-car battle for 5th place, so it's 4th down the night. They're all in a line here, and it's all been held by Leitner here, who's doing a fabulous job to hold off the 3-4 behind him, who are just, I think, a little bit faster than him right now. They're just able, but Leitner is just able to defend enough to keep them behind right now.
Yeah, see another car going to the pits. That is Hendrickson heading to the pits a bit earlier than we were predicting, so might have had a bit of damage. See another car in the pits right there, but I believe that is a retirement that we had on lap 1 or at the start of the race from a few incidents of cars going to the wall. But our pit strategy was around 20 minutes in to 25 minutes to where we usually see the pit stops made by the leaders and the field. So it's interesting that we're going to have a few people attempt the undercut and the save strategy as a battle for 5th between Leitner and Pilo coming into the inner loop and now the outer loop right now. They're almost went side by side through that chicane, straightened out a little bit, but that fight is definitely not dying down as Pilot actually has a run and cut off track, had to regain his car back there. Little bit of oversteer. So we switch down to the battle for 10th. Andrew Ruse battling out with Jacobs and Vrigi. And Vrigi actually goes wide and Jacobs up the inside. Jacobs holding his position, actually snaps the front end of Vrigi, and now they're back in that 2x2 groove that they go. We see Galvez just hanging on to that inside line and forcing Vrigi to take that outside line. Vrigi and Jacobs are just dabbing all over this back straight, just swapping positions left and right. Hopefully they keep it clean as they go through the boot once more. Jacobs and Vrigi can put a piece of paper. Once again, Jacobs goes onto the inside of Vrigi, cuts across the track, and Vrigi takes the outer line. This is a great showing from these 4 drivers, keeping it clean but keeping it very competitive.
Yeah, these 4 drivers are an absolutely awesome battle. I'm not seeing too much damage on any one of the cars. It just shows how well these drivers can race with each other. But Jacobs is now going to continue to head that group, and that is Galvarez into the pit lane. So Galvarez is going to try that undercut. I think that he thinks that he's got a little bit more pace than the rest of that group and maybe thinking that he can just undercut them and not have to race with them. As you can see, a little bit of bumping and banging there for Weechie into the rear bumper of Jacobs, and that is actually going to give Jacobs a little bit better run out of turn 1 and onto the back straightaway.
Watch Ruse try to take advantage of that bump. Vrigi might have a little bit of front damage, a little bit of bent bodywork, but they're sitting in that slipstream right there, coming up into the chicane. Here comes Ruse. Will he try anything into the braking zone? It gets to the back of Vrigi, and I think there might have been a little bit of love tapping right there. But Jacobs running ahead of Ricci while we were saying Galvez taking that pit early. I think he saw what was happening right there, and he just didn't want any part of it, just wanted to go into the pits.
I think that he just wanted to get out of it and not have to deal with the battling there, because it's bound to happen at some point. Someone's going to overcook it and cause an incident. It's, you know, these drivers can usually keep it pretty clean, but whenever you got a 4-car battle and no one wants to give anyone any space, it's bound to have some sort of contact. I think he just wanted to get out of the contact area and not have any issues. But Turman has a 5-second lead right now over David Plano. I wonder what happened to second place.
Plowny, I think he went to the pits. Bogarts dropped down to 4th. As we see another car going to the pits, that is Pilo. Into the pits, but yeah, Borgart, I'm not sure what's happened, but his car does seem banged up, so he might have hit the wall or got to the back end of Truman right there, but that is one bent Mercedes big boy hood.
Definitely not what these drivers want, is to have any sort of damage. It costs you so much time at this track, being that the straightaways are so long, so not what these drivers want by any stretch. We're just going to look through the battles here. Here's Alessi and Toth. They are going at it here on lap number 11. We're just 18 minutes into this race, almost to the halfway point. Toth doing a great job to hold off Tassi here. But let's see if Tassi has the better run, because he is in the slipstream, but we know how strong that McLaren is in a straight line. So it'll be interesting to see if Toth is able to hold off Tassi here.
Here comes Tassi looking up the inside. He actually sends it. I thought he wasn't going to try, but he gets pushed it wide by Toth. Actually cuts across the track. He's going to let Toth right by, because I think Tassi might have had to slow down, but no, Tassi holds it onto the inside. Toth goes wide, and around that long outer loop turn, Tassi makes the move up the inside out of a after, oh my goodness, that's Nobes going slow. But what a move by Tassie after a crazy attempt up on the inside of the chicane. So here's Nobes. What's happened to him?
So he just loses it. He almost catches the car, but he luckily just has barely minimal contact with the wall, so nothing too severe there. But here's this battle here. Hendrickson and Plow. So Pilo really looking for the move here on Hendrickson. I think he just has got it. Yeah, so Pilo ahead of Hendrickson. He's got Lewis just ahead of him, and Nobes just ahead of him as well. So there's still a 4-car battle here for 16th place. I believe that all these drivers have already pitted, so they won't have any pit stops yet to play.
Pilo just was in the pits when he came in. I believe that was last lap where he was in the pits. He's the top person who has done their pit stops right now. Everyone else is 16 and up who has not gone into the pits. But surprisingly enough, Michael Johnson has not gone into the pits, and he's stuck in that little group in there.
And I'm just looking here for what happened to Bogert, because he was one of the top drivers. And I do have a replay here. So here is what happened to the driver who was running in 2nd place and challenging Javon Turman. So let's see what happened to him. He's heading out of turn 9, and he just loses it. It's so easy to do. And he just loses the car, and that is what sent him down to 4th place. So really, really unfortunate for that driver, but luckily is still able to continue on.
Yeah, luckily he kept both wheels able to be moving, but very unfortunate. These curves will eat you if you aren't ready for it. As it looks like we might have Hendrickson and Lewis about to fight each other going on there, but they've decided to keep it both PG with each other and not try anything nasty. But Pilo closing down on Nobes. Saw Nobes going a bit slower after that instant. New fresh damage on a freshly pitted Pilo as Kyle Dunlop heads into the pits, one of our first top 10 riders.
So Kyle Dunlop into the pit lane, and we're seeing a lot of early stops here from many of these drivers. Usually we're not seeing stops until almost 25 minutes into the race. We're seeing a few drivers take early pit stops. Is Watkins Glen possibly one of those tracks that uses a bit more fuel, or is it just the sheer battling that's causing these drivers to not be able to save as much fuel as they usually would? That is the question here today.
Well, Watkins Glen is a very throttle-heavy map. Very little brakes actually used here on this track. Like, I can name about 3 corners that you have to use brakes on. Well, almost all the tight corners that you do, but the chicane, that is almost like barely on the brakes, but it is all about the throttle here in Watkins Glen and high-speed corners. We see this massive 3-car fight, and that is the battle for 14th. We see Dunlop swing it to the outside. Actually, that's Pilo going to the outside, holding off Dunlop as they head into the chicane, as all 3 of them fly through that chicane. There's a battle up ahead with them right there. That is Tassie and Toth. Toth's actually that was a bit of a backfire, not his car actually smoking. And McLaren like to provide that with those 2 nice flames coming out with battle behind them, now for 14th between Pilo and Nobes. Nobes around the outside, Pilo holding it up onto the inside, a little bit of side-by-side skirmishing right there between the 2 Mercedes. And it's going to be Nobes holding that one off, but Pilo's going to get a better exit. Now he's going to challenge it for the inside line. They're going to go side-by-side. And it looks like it's going to be Pilo leading off, and Nobes trying for the switchback right there, but Pilo with a great overtake, not letting the last corner define his race, and he's going to lead out this field in 14th place.
Okay, so Pilo able to get to the head of the train. Nobes down to 2nd, but he's got Dunlop just there in 3rd. Kyle Dunlop, another driver, is going to want to be making his way up. He's lost 5 places off his starting position, so you know he's not going to want to be back here. So let's see, maybe he can make a move now down the inside of Nobes, down into turn 1. Turn 1 is such a hard corner to make a move, and it's almost better just to wait and make that move down into the chicane, but he is able to make the move quite nicely there. Yeah, but it's almost a better idea just to do into the middle inner loop because of this. This is exactly what will happen. It's Dunlop, they make contact. Dunlop into the wall.
Oh, they were going side by side through turn 2. got a little bit loose up on the inside line, and outer car does not give him any room. Here's the entire replay of that entire situation. Bad exit out of turn 1. Yeah, just didn't give the car on the inside that much room as he comes up, and unfortunately he was caught out by that. And we actually have a massive battle for P2 happening between Hoffman and Pleone.
These two really going at it here as they work their way through turn 10 and into turn 11. This is definitely one of the more tricky sections of the track. It looks very, very simple, but these corners are not the easiest to navigate through, especially, there you go, it's so easy just to run wide and get the power down just a bit too early, and it ends up costing you a whole lot more than it gains you. But Plano really doing a good job to hold off second place there. He's now got a 1.2 second advantage over Hoffman, who did make that mistake in the final corner. Leitner and Bogert, though, they are battling here for P4 on the road. Leitner chasing down Bogert. Let's see if he's able to make a move down into the inner loop. It's one of the best overtaking opportunities on the racetrack.
He's got a good run on him. He's going to get his front nose onto the inside. They're going to go side by side. The Leitner's going to even make the move before the corner. That's how great that runoff was. And Leitner brings it up to 4th place.
So easy to make that overtake, though. You just get such overspeed out of turn 1 if you are in the draft, and all the way down the straightaway. There's a long bit that you are on full power. You're on full power pretty much from turn 1 all the way to the inner loop and never really letting off. So it's one of those things where you get the draft the entire way and you're able to really make the move without too much trouble. As I'm getting a message here, Tony Jacobs has crashed. Let's see what's happened to him.
I think this might have been a curb incident. Yep, on the exit. Luckily, has avoided the wall. And a great little spin pirouette right there, keeping all other cars out of the way. And I don't think he lost position from there. Just lost the back end from that battle. Pit stop update. Pilo is still the leader of all the pit stops, and he sits in P14.
So just as you said, Pilo, the top hitter so far that has pitted, so he should be in a nice spot once everything cycles out if he's had good pace since then. But let's jump back here to this battle. This is a 3-car battle. Hendrickson, Johnson, and Galvarez.
Galvarez sending it up on the inside. That is one bent rear wing. Really won't be that effective for downforce, but this is a very rare sight to see. That's a Ferrari, an Audi, and a Mercedes battling with each other, and both of the other manufacturers ahead of the Mercedes. And the Mercedes really the power car along this track. You see Dunlop in that Mercedes is pressuring Johnson to make any mistake as Galvez running away from them. And here comes Johnson defending from Dunlop. Dunlop up on the inside, leading it up and just swinging past him. And very easy move by Dunlop. I think he's overshot it. He's going to have to run way off track right there. And Johnson might have a little bit of a run coming into the bus stop chicane, a little bit up higher on the track. Lewis and Hendrickson going side by side, heading into bus stop chicane. I think this might end up in a little bit of a hairy situation as Hendrickson just absolutely sends it up there, not taking any prisoners. Back to Johnson and Dunlop. Johnson leading out Dunlop now. As there's a car spinning out. That is
Jacobs, and he's into the wall hard.
He's out.
Tony Jacobs out of the race for sure.
I think that was a braking zone incident. He didn't hit a car. I think he just locked up his brakes and just held on.
That's pretty much all you can do in that instance. Whenever you're like that, you're pretty much just a passenger at that point, just holding on and hoping that you don't really hit anything. But obviously did clobber the wall pretty hard there. It's not going to affect anyone else, though, so he didn't wreck anyone else out of the race.
Clement
luckily enough.
That is another one of our top 10 drivers in the pits. I believe he was 6 when he came in.
I believe he was 6th as well. He's now down to 11th, but that is just going to promote him back up once we see the drivers get back into the pit lane. So
Pilo showing that undercut has actually got past him, and he's moved up to 12th place. But the gap between Pilo and everyone else is a 43 seconds separates Pilo from the leader. So Pilo making good works, but he has to keep that lap times up in case he wants to try the undercut on Truman. But Pilo under pressure by Toth. Toth and that McLaren holding around the outside, using that top end advantage going into the bus stop chicane. But Pilo holding that inside line, not giving Toth any room. And Pilo leads out P12 still. Wonderful defending and wonderful driving by Toth and Pilo, keeping it clean with 10 minutes remaining here in Watkins Glen. And I think we're going to see the top 10 start going to the pits right now.
And just quickly going to check here. We got 43 degrees Celsius track temperature, so we do have quite a hot track here today. Truman into the pit lane, so your leader into the pits. He should cycle out.
Maloney's in the pits as well. Hoffman in the pits.
Hoffman, all of them jumping into the pits.
Here comes Bogart, Navarrete going into pits, and we have a guy saying out. That's Lucas Navarrete. Navarrete is going to try to kind of overcut them. So he's going to be pushing as hard as he can and trying to see if he can catch out and get a few places on them. But this is what Pioli wanted. Pilo wanted. He is the top pitter guy. We have another guy staying out. That is Ripple, but Truman comes out in second place. And here comes Pilo. But everyone heading into the pits right now, running on that pit limiter. Pilo is going to be racing Bogart on the pit exit. There's Bogart right there. Pilo moves up from P12 all the way to P9. So that undercut that he took near the start, he's going to be saving as much fuel as he can. I think he went about 15 minutes before he went into the pits.
Yeah, and it's definitely still possible. If you had even put it at 25 minutes into the race, you would have been on 15 minutes worth of fuel. So he just did the opposite strategy to most people, as we're seeing most everyone jumping into the pits this time. So most everyone jumping into the pits and getting the new fuel put into the car. Obviously no tire change here, as it's only a 40-minute race. These drivers not needing to take tires in this race. But Andrew Ruse, he's a decently close battle here with Eric Galvarez. So everyone now starting to spread out as the pit stops just cycle their way through. Everyone starting to extend leads and start to separate more and more.
We got a crash at the inner loop. Coming out of the outer loop, that is David Toth. He spun it on the exit. He was doing very well. What's happened to him going into the chicane? Well, actually coming out of chicane, I think it might have been a curb. Right on board with him. Yep.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird spin, though, because he did have that issue, obviously going over the curb, but it was kind of a weird one because it just kind of bounced, the car did, going through the chicane. I don't really know if there was anything that he could have done about that to prevent that, to be honest.
All I have to say is I think he might have got onto the grass. Because the car was upset just a little bit. There's a tiny bit of drop off between the curb and the grass, and if that grass gets worn out a little bit, that drop comes from like a centimeter to about an inch, and an inch is all it takes in these cars to upset them. We've seen on how bad any curb can upset one of these cars, especially the way you have it set up.
And I can say from real life experience as well, if you're not planning on hooking a curb, and you do hit the curb just the wrong way, then it can definitely send the car into some very aggressive spins, or you can easily lose control of it. There's a way to hook it, and there's a way to save the car, but it is very, very difficult. These cars are very stiff cars in the real world, the same thing in iRacing, so any sort of bump is just going to send the car hopping a little bit more than you would, say, if you're in a Mazda MX-5, a little bit softer car. That can just take the bumps a little bit better. These GT3 cars, obviously very big and very, very stiff cars, so they're not able to take the bumps as well.
Yeah. Galvez and Ruse. Galvez closing in on Ruse. He closed up a lot of positions and pace on Ruse as we were watching the battle between Pilo and Bogart. We're going to switch back up to them right now. Bogart still has that front end damage after coming into the pits, so I believe he didn't want to waste time in the pits with that obviously minimum to him. But Pilo looking to make grounds up to P5 with that early pit stop.
So he didn't cycle back out in his starting position, did Pilo. So Pilo doing a great job to cycle back up to where he started, possibly even get by Bogert and get up into second place. But they've got Navarrete only 1.2 seconds back, so they start battling a little bit more going into the final 5 minutes of the race. Then Navarrete is going to have a pretty easy job of getting up to them both, and then it's just a matter of passing them. But Andrew Ruse, he's still got Galvez right up on his rear bumper. But we got to jump back here to this battle, going down into the inner loop. Pilo really close to the back of Bogert. Let's see if he's able to make a move. He's not able to make it through the inner loop. Is he going to try his luck down into turn 6?
I don't think so. After watching him, he's been having a great pace coming into Sector 1 and Sector 2, but coming out of Sector 3 is just... Sector 3, 4, or 5 has just never been that good for Pilo. But he's always been having a run coming up to that bus stop chicane.
Yes, as these two drivers are looking at the battle between Dunlop and Rappel down the chute and into the very long left-hander. That corner just feels like it goes on forever, but then they head into tow. One of the most challenging corners on the entire racetrack. It's a banked uphill corner. If you just get out of the banking, you can see where the track changes. Then you really lose pretty much all grip that you had. So really important not to overshoot the entry of that corner, because if you do, you're not going to have a very nice time getting around there. We jump back to this battle here with Rappel and Dunlop. Dunlop ahead of Rappel.
Coming down that front straight, expect Rappel to actually back away from Dunlop right here and get a better run. If you hold that inside and don't go off track, you're actually going to get a better run. And let's see if they both do it. Yeah, they do. But I think Dunlop might have him locked in. Pilo gets ahead of Bogart right there in Sector 1 and 2. That sector that he's had absolutely on rails this time. Pilo making it happen. As the battle for third team between Rappel and Dunlop. Dunlop, unfortunately, gets passed by Rappel. And Rappel leading him off to the chicane. He's to side. He's leading out to side through there. Nothing happening between the two, but Desai might have a little bit of run on this exit.
So let's see here, Pilo is able to hold off Bogart. So Bogart obviously having issues with that crash, and he's just starting to bounce back a little bit. Let's see if he can get him here going into the final 3 minutes of this race. Let's see if he has any luck, and let's also look back here at the battle between Rimple and Dunlop. Dunlop is closing that gap back up, so let's see if he's able to make a move here in the next few laps. We got a few battles forming here on the racetrack. Wengen and Ruse as well. Some battles that we're just now starting to see pop up. And Galvarez also there in the mix just behind him. So some battles starting to take place again here in the final few minutes of the race. Navarrete also starting to close up on Bogart and Pilo. So he's doing a nice job to close that gap and move his way closer to the front of the field. That leads him into 4th place. He's currently sitting in 7th, so you know he'll want to make that up.
Foul turn. Crash in the foul turn. 2-car collision in the foul turn. That is not what we were looking for.
Just quickly trying to find the driver here. There we go.
Oh, there it is.
Let's quickly cue up the replay again.
I saw it out of the corner of my eye on our mini-map, as this was a nasty hit. Loses the back end, gets on the curbs, comes back on track, and hard on the brakes as the 21st place position car, and he avoids him just fine, but that was Nobes who was involved in that crash.
Yeah, so Nobes just barely able. Nobes obviously hit the wall very, very hard, and I believe it was the 20 car of George Lewis just able to avoid him there. So great job to him to be able to avoid him. But we got this 3-car battle here for 9th place. Wengen, Ruse, and Galvarez. They're going at it here. Wengen doing a great job as the only actually one of 3 Ferraris in the field today. So he's doing a great job, the highest placing Ferrari right now. That just shows the dominance of the Mercedes. They currently control 1st through 8th, and then it's Wengen in the Ferrari, and then Ruse in 10th. So they have 9 out of the top 10 are Mercedes here today. So great showing.
Miller's crashed. Max Miller has crashed out. Gets on the curb and ooh, a little bit of love tap. Let's get back on track, but that is a very upset front nose, and it is the last lap here in Watkins Glen. Truman's got a dominating lead, and he's followed by Plony and Hoffman. Your top 3. And actually, the battle for P2 is very close with each other. Well, I say that it's closer to some other things. The battle for P5 and P6 is what I really want to see. So they're coming out of tow right now. Bogart and Navarrete. Bogart, P2 qualifier after having a little bit of an incident, keeping it in P6 as Pilos ran away with him in P5, and coming around the final turn is Truman, and I think he wants this moment all to himself.
And I think that he is going to be able.
Yeah, he's gonna have to win.
Truman, great job. He wins here in Watkins Glen.
He's followed up. He's followed up by Poloni, and here comes Hoffman in P3. Great drive by Truman, absolutely on a different level. As Leitner comes across in P4, and Pilo with that undercut strategy, moving up to P5 from his P6 qualifying position. Biggest mover so far of the field, that's Clement Wingen, who's in this group, and he's leading out. We got a little bit of drag race right here, but Wignan able to move up 5 positions up there, tying Leitner for the biggest mover. I say Marcel Jacqueline taking that title, moving up 6 positions from where he qualified.
And we're usually used to seeing some drivers moving up even more position than that, so this is a little bit smaller moves than we're usually used to seeing. I'm used to seeing these 11 and 10 car move ups. Obviously, that just shows everyone's pace here at Watkins Glen and how close they really are. So as we wait for the final few drivers to sort through the final few corners, we're just going to quickly go through the race results. Do have to rush out of here pretty quickly as I have to go over for the BSR MX5 Pro Series live on the iRacing Esports Network in just 15 minutes time. So be sure to tune into that series live from Bathurst at Mount Panorama. So let's get ready now. The results are up on your screen. Take us through them.
It's Truman taking the win all the way from New Jersey, so a home win for him. He's going to be very happy about that. He's followed by Pleone, Hoffman, Leitner, Pilo, Bogart, Navarrete, Hendrickson, Wignan, Ruse, Galvez, Jacqueline, Rippin, Dunlop, Vershai, Tessie, Hayes, Salamazi. And in 19th, that is George Lewis, Mac Miller, Stephen Nobes, Laurie Caucusson, Michael Johnson, David Toth, Tony Jacobs, and Algaritz Bullet from Iberia leading out the end of the field, who I believe had that unfortunate incident near the start of the race. But that was your GT Sprint Series all the way from Watkins Glen. How was that race?
It's an absolutely awesome race, and be sure to tune in next week for another round of the VRS Sprint Championships. Just going to quickly check the schedule and see where we are. The great commentator that I am can't even remember where the schedule goes next.
Spa.
Just going to quickly... Oh, Spa. So an even better track for GT3 racing. We head to Spa in Belgium. So we go to the absolutely legendary racetrack that is Spa. Definitely one of my favorites to race at on the iRacing calendar. One of my favorites to watch as well. So it's going to be an absolutely awesome race heading into next week. Be sure to tune in to Apex Racing TV live exclusively on YouTube for the VRS Sprint Championships. But I think that is it from us here at Apex Racing TV from Tyler Maxson and Austin Knight. We'll see you again next time.